Welcome everyone. This is our Creative Workers in School information session, the second information session. Before we kick off, a couple of small housekeeping things. For those who need an interpreter for this session, we do have Karen who's joining us, and you can use the three little dots on the frame above her frame and pin her if you do require her services. Before we go further into the session, I would like to also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm zooming in from, these Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nations. And I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, with whose blessing, as an uninvited guest on these lands, I am able to carry on work on a daily basis. And maybe I will just invite everyone to close their eyes for just a few seconds to think about the place they're coming from today for this session and pay their respects to the elders that they are with. Thank you for that. There are a lot of people here today, so just a few housekeeping things before we kick off. Because the number of people in the Zoom session today, we will keep everyone. We would encourage you to keep your mics on mute, just for noise control. And if you have, if you're somewhere outside and your connection is not very good, I would suggest you keep your videos off as well. That can help with the connection and you'll be able to hear me clearly. A few chat protocols. No doubt there will be lots of questions that will be coming up for you. We would like to keep the question to the chat today, so we can keep a track of all the questions. And if we don't get back to you today, we will be able to get back to you at a later stage once we've gone through them all. I'm here today with my wonderful colleague, Amelia Kingston, in the red over there. And my name is Priya. And I think Dave has just left, but has he just left?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dave was a gentleman who was just sitting there, glasses, I think, who is our statewide program manager. And just as a quick introduction, we're all very new to this Creative Workers team. We have only been here for 2 weeks and are very excited to be a part of this project. Amelia and I are looking after different regions in this project. We are the regional area managers, and we will be working with the selected artists quite closely once we get started. We have put our details in the chat box as well, so please feel free to take note of those details. You can contact, I am looking after Melbourne region, so if you're based in Melbourne, feel free to contact me. Amelia is based in Stawell, so Western region, and Christy, who's not here today, unfortunately, is based in the Northern regions, and you can contact her. You can also contact us all, and we are working in a very collaborative way, so we will all get back to you together as well when possible. Amelia and I will be sharing the session today, so I will kick off the session and speak to you about the overview of the project and give you just a bit more information about the guidelines, and then Amelia will take over about halfway and talk to you about working in schools with children, because Amelia is an artist who has worked in schools and comes with a work experience in this area, and will be able to give you some more information around that. Yes, so to begin with, I would like to just start open with the guidelines of what's in the guidelines document, which I hope you have seen already. So to start with, the Creative Workers in School initiative, it is intended to partner 150 creative industry workers with Victorian government schools, including special schools, for up to 6 months to co-design and deliver an educationally valuable project. Or set of activities, as the DET call it. DET is the Department of Education, and it is to support learning across arts and other key learning areas in the Victorian curriculum. It will provide short-term employment for the creative workers who have been impacted by the coronavirus. But it also, the initiative is originally, is first and foremost for employability initiative, but it does activate creative learning in school environments, which is really brilliant. I'm personally really excited about it. As an artist myself, Amelia, myself and Christy are all artists, and we're very excited about this intersection of what this project can do and the impact of it at the intersection of education and art and community. Who is delivering this program? The Creative Workers in School project has a few different stakeholders. So it is being delivered by Regional Arts Victoria through the support of the Victorian government, Working for Victoria initiative. And it is in partnership with the Department of Education and Training and Creative Victoria. The key objectives of the creative workers in the schools is, there are so many, as you may have read in the document already. It is to support employment, training, practice-based opportunities, creative approaches, or introducing and strengthening creative approaches to curriculum-based learning, and providing learning opportunities to teachers in the value of the creative industries within the school curriculum. It builds teachers' confidence and capacity to implement these different ways of learning with their students in the curriculum. It increases the opportunities for students to progress their learning and it raises awareness around the pedagogical best practices in art education, which are all really amazing things. That is a very formal overview of what the impact of it is. A very subjective way I look at it, I have background in working with children in the past in school settings as artists in residence myself, and I feel like the having witnessed the impact of how activation of imaginations through creative processes, what it does to kids in schools is quite powerful. The power of creative thinking and the transformational quality of this is really key to the way approaching your proposals as well. And in the long term, the broader community that get the value, that get to see the value and actually feel the value of this is really, really big. Who can submit an expression of interest as a creative worker? Any individuals, groups or collectives based anywhere in Victoria. It's a statewide program, so any one of these categories can submit their EOI for this. Organizations and incorporated bodies are not eligible, unfortunately, and individuals who are under 18 at the time of applying, and groups that are not based in Victoria cannot apply for this. The timeline for this program, Stream 1 is closed now. There are 2 streams. Stream 1 runs across term 1 and term 2, and stream 2 runs across term 2 and term 3. Stream 1 applications are closed, as a lot of you may know already. We met with a lot of the artists last week who were selected, and we had the induction with them, and we are doing the school inductions this week, and they will be going into schools and starting their projects next week, which is really exciting. Stream 2, the deadline for this application for this EOI is the 22nd of Feb. And the partnerships will start on the 15th of March, and it goes up until the 8th of October. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to find a document. So how the project works is Creative workers, the team overview, just a quick team overview for all of you to understand how it works from our end is we have Dave, who works as a statewide program manager for this, who looks after the stakeholders, the various broader stakeholders that are part of this, like the DET, the Department of Education, the other bodies like Creative Victoria, who we're partnering with. And then with Dave, there are 5 regional managers, which is me, Christy, Amelia, Sarah Atkinson, who's not here either today, and we're looking for one other person to join this role. All of us are artists, and we have a lot of experience in different areas, but a lot of crossovers working in schools. So we're here to work, our project management strengths are to work with creative workers directly in schools and to help with your proposals and support you as best as we can to deliver these your proposals to make them work for you and for the school. On top of that, you will have, we're looking at professional development through your residencies. So they will be core professional development that will be provided to all the artists in residency, in residence through the 6-month term. We're looking at partnering with really wonderful organizations who will run workshops and mentor you through various skills in facilitation, in your art process, making process, and in your process of working with children. And we also will have individual mentorship based on your projects, which we will identify with you individually, and we will do our best to get those individual mentorships happening for you. Time fractions, as far as the residency goes, it is a full-time commitment for your residency. However, that doesn't involve full-time commitment with school on a daily basis, unless you choose to do that. The time fractions are up to you for your practice, and we really encourage artists to take the time to do so. This is time for reflection, for practice, for making, for writing, for thinking, for development, for whatever helps you support your practice to be able to develop the project in the best way you can. There are a lot of other, we have a really wonderful well-being and mental health support as well that is available to all the artists in residence that they'll be able to use whenever they like. And they don't have to go through us. It is completely anonymous and safe. And the rest is working in schools, which I will pass over to Amelia to answer and take you through a few things to do with that.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm just in the middle of a message backwards and forwards. I'd like to say hello, and I can see lots of people out there who are some friends. It's lovely to see you. I would also like to reinforce the time fraction thing. So, because we've had so many questions about it, we expect that potentially you would work in a school 2 to 3 days a week, but if you wanted to work more days a week and that was okay with the school, that would be fine too. But we anticipate that the rest of the time will be spent on planning, on your own artistic practice, on professional development, on professional reading. We don't expect the artists to be in the school all of the time. That's not the expectation. We just want to really reinforce that because we've had a lot of people ask that question. It is a really fantastic program that means you can still work on your own artistic practice at the same time. In terms of working in schools, like I was saying, 2 to 3 days a week in negotiation with the school. So when you are assigned, or if potentially you have already made contact with the school, you would then negotiate with the project coordinator to decide on what times would be suitable for you to be in the school and in the classroom. They would then come up with a work plan that you would work through to come up with a, not so much project deliverables, but activities and art experiences for the children, which, by the way, is P to 10. So that's grade prep, which is 5 years old, to year 10, which is approximately 16. And not all of those things would result in a final artwork. We're not expecting that everything will result in one spectacular show or even a final exhibition. If that happens, awesome. We'd love that too, but it's not the expectation that that has to happen, because it's more about having arts in schools and catching kids up onto things that they've missed during this COVID period. In terms of the application process, it is on the app called Sidekicker. Now, if you go to the RAV page, the Regional Arts Victoria website, and you go to opportunities, you will see the Creative Workers in Schools box. If you click on that, there are two options. You can click on the Creative Workers in Schools for schools. That's if you are a teacher or an educator of some description and you want to be applying and putting in an expression of interest as a teacher. And then down from that, there is the Creative Workers in Schools information for creative workers. Now, for most of you, that's what the case is. So head to that one. That will then take you through to apply for a profile in Sidekicker. Once you've applied for your profile in Sidekicker, then it does get a tiny bit tricky. To find the Regional Arts Victoria job, because it's all over the state, we can't just narrow it to, we have narrowed it to one place, but that means that it makes it tricky to find. So if you go narrow the search up the top by company name, and it will put it in alphabetical order, then you can scroll approximately about 600 jobs down to find the Regional Arts Victoria jobs. There will be, I think there's approximately 3 jobs with Regional Arts Victoria up at the moment. There are the mentor positions, there is one regional manager position, and there are the creative worker positions. You then go in to the creative worker position. It will take you in to put in an expression of interest. In that, we would advise that the best thing to do is to cut and copy the questions into a Word document. Then you can go back and forwards in your Word document and review and edit. If you enter all of your stuff straight into the Sidekicker app, then it won't save. You have to submit it straight away. So it's better to cut and copy the questions so you can edit later. In terms of project development, that is something that you work with your school and with us as the regional managers and with the mentors to come up with how your project's going to work. Now, for a lot of people, you will already have an idea of something that you would like to bring into a school, or a project that perhaps you've seen done or you have previously performed in some way. That's fine. You can reuse projects. That's okay. So in there, it will have a box that you have to then talk about how you want to structure the project and how it could work in a school. This is probably the trickiest, but also the most important bit, in that you want to outline how it can work and what it will bring to the students. And in terms of what artistic method you want to use and how it could work within a school setting. So potentially, if you would prefer to run it over, say, year 7s and 8s, or you would prefer to work in early primary prep to 2, you need to list that in there. There's another box as you head down that will ask you about it's gone out of my brain. Sorry, Priya. Another box that will tell you about if you've already set up a relationship with a school. It's really important in there, if you have already discussed with a school that you would like to pursue this project with them, that you name that school in there. It's also really important that that school has put in an expression of interest. We need to have both of those for us to connect you guys to have artists in schools and the school working with the artist. Priya, is there anything I haven't got there?
No, I think you've covered most things. Of course, I just wanted to add, also the Sidekicker portal doesn't allow you to save the information as you go. I'm not sure if Amelia said this already, but we encourage that you copy and paste the questions onto a Word document, fill out your answers. There is no word limit, as far as I know, and save that document and refine your application, and then copy and paste it across when you're ready, and then submit it. Because unfortunately, if the internet connection dies or anything happens, you will lose all that information. It is a third-party app, and we found it a little bit clunky as well. So we're trying to streamline what's best and most useful for you. And that's, I think, maybe the most useful way to do it. So yeah, please do remember that. Gail hi Gail, has just asked a good question, which might be a good one for everyone to hear. Is it imperative to have a ready to go project? No, not at all. What we're looking for is the quality of the idea and the how all the different people involved in this process will benefit from this idea. And the strength of the idea is really important. The project development is very much a part of this residency. So it can be a very new idea that you're just exploring.
And I can see two questions here, one from Susanna and one from Miles. How important is it to have a school to work with? Do you consider project ideas with a specific school in mind? That's up to you. Look, we will say that most of the applications in the first stream had already had discussions with the school. That said, we have quite a number that we've matched with schools who didn't have an artist already either. If you can make a connection with a school, that's great. If you can't, then that's fine. We will try and find one for you. That's part of our job too, but it might be that we can't. We haven't got, because it's schools putting in their own expressions of interest, it's totally up to them, so that if we can match you, we will.
It's strongly encouraged from a RAV point of view that you have a school in mind, as Amelia said, just to reiterate that, because it shows that both school and the artists are really interested in this idea and exploring it together.
And the next question I could see there from Sarah, time commitment, will the project manager be required for the school? The project manager, depending on if they are the teacher who will be supervising the lessons. So the artist will work in with the class, and but always the teacher will be present. So in that way, the teacher will need to always be there when the artist is there. But for them, it's something you'd need to negotiate, because if the project is fitting in with something they're already doing curriculum-wise, then they might not need to spend much time at all. And it depends on the artist as well, how independent they feel in the school and how comfortable they are working with the children. So that's very much a personal question for each artist and each project manager and each project.
Amelia, I think the next question is about budget. Is there a set budget, and what is the breakdown for artist hours and materials? I think that is, there is a set budget. There is a payment amount for the artists who get paid for their residency, which is your practice time, which is your studio time, your thinking time, your writing, reflecting, making the work, developing the work. And that is your labor as an artist, which is $33,970 for 6 months. The top of my head, there might be $2 or $3 off there. And there is a $4,000 budget for equipment per artist. on top of that as well, which is to do with materials. And that is once you're selected, we will help you manage that budget and guide you in how to use those budgets. So the artist's hours and materials are up to you and up to your discretion based on your project and how you manage that in what you want to do with the schools. And it's very much a negotiation between you and
and on that, there's also, so that each teacher isn't taken away from some of their other classroom duties or their other duties within the school, there is a $3,500 CRT budget. So that's to pay for teachers that need to come in and take classes if the project manager is working with the artist.
$1,000 word limit. Lauren, thank you, Lauren, for bringing that to my attention. I was not aware of this. Last I checked, there wasn't, but I can get back to you on that. Amelia, do you know if that's the case?
No, but I would have to check on that one. Marcella, is there a kind of list that shows schools that have shown an interest in participating in the program? We have some that have put in applications already, and we have a few from the last round that we weren't able to match. Potentially they might be in areas that you might be interested in. I'd have to check that that's okay in terms of privacy for us to release that information to you. I think Priya's relisted it. Our details are on there. If you'd like to send Priya or I an email, we can discuss that with you. Can you have a project in more than one school? Yes, we do have quite a few working across, a few different artists working in different schools with one school as a lead school. That's okay, but it will only be the singular payment per artist, not per school that you work at, and it will be the singular $4,000 artist materials budget per school. Per project, not per school.
Stephen is interested in knowing if there are some broad program or project examples. Stephen, they're very diverse. From Stream 1, the artists that have been selected across a lot of different mediums. So it's very hard to say, but I think there's a lot of drama-based, performance-based artists. There are some that are working across industrial design. There are some that are working across very tactile, material-based things, live performance. Most of them have a very strong quality of demonstrating that it has a transformational effect on the students that they're working with, and how they're connecting with their within their curriculum.
And I've got a question here both from Marinda and Fiona in regards to if you're a registered teacher, would you need to be working with a teacher when you're making art with the students? That would probably need to be negotiated with the school, but I would say no. If you already have VIT registration, then that should be fine for you to just be in the classroom with the students. As long as your registration has been renewed and you have that registration for the entire period of 2021, that should be not a problem.
Tams has a question, which is a good one as well. If working with another artist together on the project in the school, is the wage split between the two? If you apply together, it is per project. Am I right, Amelia?
Yeah.
But you can apply separately, and then it is 2 artists working in the same school on a project.
And then you would be each paid the $33,592 or something very close to that amount.
But you will have to apply separately to be able to qualify for the payment separately.
From a question from Simon, does it include schools within metropolitan Melbourne? Yes, it does. So it's not just regional schools, it is Melbourne schools also.
It's a statewide program in Victoria, and Melbourne Metropolitan is a region in Victoria as well.
Matthew, have we released information as to who will be on the judging panel? No, we haven't released that information. I'm actually not sure if I'm allowed to release that information. I'd have to check. Priya, do you know?
No, we're not. It is a peer assessment panel. So it is done by a group of people, and it varies, I believe. But either way, the panel is not released that information, I'm quite sure.
And Fiona, it's only public schools, not private or independent schools, just public. Are we assisting remote schools to apply? Feel free to send us an email or give Priya or Ryan a call and we can discuss that with you. I'm Western Region and Priya is Metropolitan, and Christy, whose details are listed above, is now I can't remember where she is. Priya, what's her region?
Clunes, Northern.
Clunes, Northern. Sorry, couldn't get my directions quite right there.
Miles, no, the working with children check and police checks, they're all done once you're accepted, and that is done as part of your initial induction. If you have a working with children check, of course, that is brilliant.
Osna, if it's a performing arts project, will be a platform to present the work to the school community or general audience? That's up to negotiation with the school. So yes, definitely we would hope so. It would depend on, of course, COVID restrictions, but yes, we would definitely hope that would be the case.
Amelia.
Laura, sorry, Priya?
No, you go with Lauren, I'll go with Amelia later.
Lauren, so you can have 2 artists apply for the same school or project if you have applied separately, and you can be paid for that amount separately. Yes, that's correct. You will each be paid as separate artists.
And just to clarify on that, from my knowledge, you cannot apply together anyway. You have to apply separately, so that automatically makes that simple. Amelia has asked, from projects that have happened in the past, is there a suggestion as to how many students to include, i.e. a year level, 2 year levels? Is there a good suggested recommendation, or perhaps this is project dependent? I think the latter, Amelia, it is very project dependent.
Yep.
And you can easily shift and change once you're selected on how you want to do this with the school you're working with.
Yeah. And Bridget, yes, singing is allowed in schools. That's been re-allowed at the moment. In terms of the criteria, Rebecca, if you have been affected by COVID and your work has been affected by COVID in some way, then yes, you are eligible to apply, is the simplest answer. What happens if COVID crazy kicks in? Great question, Tams. We will then look to moving the program to online. So I've worked for the past 12 years as a teacher. And so last year I certainly experienced the COVID crazy and how to deliver programs online. We would expect that all schools, having already experienced this, have their own methods that they would like to present things through, but we would continue to employ the artists through COVID crazy to still deliver the project. It would change its form and would definitely become more of an online project, but we would still deliver the project.
And also on that note, the project does have a COVID contingency plan as well in place. And COVID training is also a part of your induction as well. So you will be trained to do that. So if you have any reservations based on that, that if it does happen and therefore you can't apply, please don't worry about that, because of course we have considered that as well, and it will be part of your induction and training.
And Rebecca, if the project requires an artist for a part-time amount, can we apply for part-time? There isn't actually an option to do that. It is a full-time position, but as we said, we don't expect the artists to be in the school all of the time. So if you have other artistic commitments that are part of your artistic practice, then we would expect that you would still be, for instance, performing or singing or whatever it is that you're doing. And do you want specific reference to curriculum guidelines? No, that's fine. You don't need to reference specific curriculum. As long as you have a vague idea of what year levels you would like to work with and the mediums and methods, then you don't need to understand VicCorrect. That's fine. That's part of my job.
We have about 5 minutes left. If you have any more questions, please feel free to keep the questions coming. I'm going to just send you the link to where all this information is as well, which I'm sure you're all across already. But please feel free to read the guidelines, and if you have any questions that come up, please email us and let us know. We can try and help you as best as we can with the application process before you actually submit your applications.
Where's it gone? Mars Drum, how much time is spent for induction and training? Asking as an ex-teacher. In terms of the induction, it's about an hour and a half, talking about COVID procedures and working in schools. And training, that's entirely different, because we expect that each person and each artist and each school will have different professional development needs. So that will be not all in one go before you begin. It will be as you go for things that you would find useful and that you need as part of your program. Is it suggested to work with 1 or 2 year levels in this time? Yes, definitely. You could just work with 1 or 2 year levels and specify that that's what you think the project would be best aimed at. But again, that would be something that is probably best negotiated with the school and with the project coordinator at the school. It would also need to work in with their timetabling.
Mark has a question which is interesting, about whether they're able to pitch more than one idea. That is, one targeted at younger children, one targeted towards high school kids, or could pitch a flexible idea that can be tailored to both. I think we would suggest that the idea is flexible, that can be tailored, because a part of your residency is to explore these ideas. But from an application point of view, it would be better to have a strong, clear idea of what the project is or what you're thinking of exploring, that we can then see the potential in, and your interest in shaping it more.
Hannah has asked, one of the application questions is indicate whether you'd be interested in exploring alternative creative practices. What we mean by that isn't like alternative as in, you know, some bizarre alternative art form. We mean, do you have other art forms you would be able to work in? So, for instance, I'm a potter and have been for 20 years, but my background is also in printmaking and landscape drawing and painting, but also in, I play trumpet and tuba. So you could put all of those things in that box to say that you have, you know, many other artistic skills that could be used.
Just to expand on that a little bit more, it is, I find it really interesting to just really focus on the word creative workers, and it's not artists in schools, it's creative workers in schools. So it's a really broad art form. We're looking at game makers, landscape designers, costume makers, visual artists, poets, architects, filmmakers, musicians, dancers, those sort of alternative things. Sometimes when we say artists in residence, people tend to a very certain type of mediums, but what we're trying to do by alternative is that it is open to, we would like to go really broad, and are you interested in exploring that? So we're coming to the end of the session. Are there any last questions or comments anyone would like to? Please feel free to unmute your mic and also speak if you would like to, if that's better for you. Otherwise, our contact details are in the chat. Amelia has just pasted them again. Please feel free to contact us. I am based in Melbourne Metro, and Amelia is based in Stawell in the Western region. Christy, who's away at the moment, is based in the Northern region. If you're more comfortable with getting in touch with people who are based in your areas who you will be working with going forward, please contact one of us. Or as I said earlier, we are working very collaboratively. So if you do reach one of us, we will all be across things anyway. And if you need any assistance with your application as well, please feel free to ask those questions, specific questions, more as they come up while you're doing your applications.
Awesome. wonderful to see you all today, and we look forward to seeing your applications and hearing from you. If you have any questions, as Priya said, we're here to help. Give us a call, send us an email if you don't want to talk. I totally get that, having to talk on the phone. Ugh. And we look forward to working with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.